Good afternoon, crafters. It's Tangi from Papercrafting Australia. Thanks again for joining me for another tutorial on another gloomy Saturday afternoon here in Melbourne. Wherever you're tuning in from around Australia, welcome. I hope you've had a great week since the last time we ran a tutorial. We did, of course, do our launch of our November Crafternoon Box and our wonderful Christmas Gala papers. I lied and said I was going to take down the Christmas decorations. I just haven't had time since Thursday night's launch, so it is still killing me to have Christmas decorations up, but hopefully it brings you a little bit of a laugh and some joy as well. I have had over this shoulder, though, that little brown paper package there. There was a very special delivery today, which is all of the printed papers for our Christmas collection. So I will maybe show you a few more of those in the flesh a little bit later today in the tutorial. But today we're going to be making a theatre card, which is really close to my heart. I have previously for 20 years worked in the theatre industry, and of course it is pretty much completely non-existent here in Australia at the moment, at least in the eastern states where we are getting slammed by COVID. So I am missing the theatre a great deal, not just working in it but also visiting it. So I thought we might just do this little cute card today, which is a theatre card. So I will switch over to our overhead camera and we'll show you what we're going to do. I'm just going to check in and make sure Facebook and YouTube are behaving properly for us today. I can see that Margaret's joined us from Canada. Hi, Margaret. Tony's here. Sharon, Mum, the moderator, is here. Thanks so much, Mum, for being here. Keeping everybody real in the chat, making sure we're not misbehaving. Of course, misbehaving is also allowed, so, you know, to a certain degree. You can be cheeky. I'm sure we'll have our Princess of Pun drop in a little bit later, especially for the bee puns. We had some good ones last week. Hi, Marie. Welcome. Thanks for popping in. We are, for some reason something's not going right on, oh, do you know what I've probably done? I know one of my cameras isn't necessarily doing a live feed today because I don't think I set one of my settings properly. Oh well, we'll see how we go. I literally cannot see anything changing on screen, so if you guys can see my hands on screen, just give me a little thumbs up or a howdy hi in the chats, just so that I know that that is working. If you're just seeing nothing moving on the screen at the moment, let me know. Something's, I don't think I set one of my settings on my phone properly. I was rushing a little bit because I had a late shower today. What a wally. Let me know if you can see my hands on the screen. Can't see anybody. Can't see any messages. Nothing moving on the screen. All right. Margaret, that is me. All right. I am going to bump the camera for a sec, guys. Sorry. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to go back to the title slide while I just redo this. Oh dear. This is what happens when you have a sleep in and then you decide that you're going to muck around with other things like deliveries that came. That was very exciting. So, you know, bear with me. I was very, very excited about that today. Do you know what I did? I turned the location settings on because it has a similar icon to the one that I wanted to go to, which is display and brightness, which tells me not to lock, not for the screen to lock, which means that the camera stays live. What a dork. Anywho, I think we're getting there. Go back to that setting. All right, we might be close. Oh, sorry everyone. Hi Jenny. Sorry for the mucking around. I'm just just fixing a wee little mistake that I made this morning, getting set up. What a dork. All right. I think we're back up and going. Yay, I can see my hands now. It would have been a great tutorial if we hadn't seen anything happening. So sorry. We will be able to get onto it there. I love the comments. Nothing moving on the screen, nothing YouTube, nothing but the desk. No hands, thanks Jenny. Awesome. Okay, so hopefully you can see me now. So this is the card that we're going to make today. It does fit inside an A6 envelope, so it's the perfect size for our Crafternoon box here. I'm not a dork, thanks Margaret. Thanks for your support. So this is the theatre card. So it is, as you can see, it folds down nice and flat to fit inside that envelope. But when you pull from these two little tabs here, you will actually have the card will pop down and back. So it becomes a little bit of a box card. And we've got our little theatre set up. So I did a little gnome and bees from the patterned paper that we're using this month, which is Paper Rose's Beehive collection. So that's we're just using the 6x6 inch pattern papers for this little project. But it is a lot of fun. There are a few little fiddly bits and a few little pinch points, but we'll go through those as we go along. You can decorate it as much or as little as you like, and that's up to you when it comes down to you know, how much you kind of put on the front. You want to be careful, particularly on these sliding panels and also these two panels in the middle here. So there's a little pop-up panel here and the back panel. You don't want too much in there. Anything on here is going to get caught as it slides through, and anything down in here, if it's too thick, it's actually going to prevent you from being able to, you know, really close the card and you know, have it nice and flat. Oh, did we have a YouTube problem again, Sharon? Oh, never mind. YouTube has been a bit buggy lately. It kicked us out about 13 minutes into our launch the other night, so not so good. Oh, Margaret, you love this one. Excellent. Good to hear. Alrighty, so let's get on with making the card. I'll pop that over to the side. I have just got today some cardstock, so you will need the equivalent of about a 12 by 12 inch sheet. You can use 2 A4 sheets if that's what you've got, but you will need a fair amount of card for that. You'll also need a couple of sheets of a 6x6 inch patterned paper. Depending on how busy you want your patterns to be, I used 3 different pieces. I could have got away with probably only using 2, but we'll you know, see how you go as you cut down your papers. You might also want to go back to your scrap piles if you've got some larger scraps laying around. I've also got some of our cute little bees and gnomes and little sayings and things that came in this month's kit. One of the pages from the Paper Rose kit does have some sentiments and some little washi tape pieces in it. So it's got the little polka dots on the back. So you can use something like that if you want. It's up to you how you want to embellish it. I might even pop a few sequins on the front today, just because this one I kind of wanted to go with a bit of a monotone at the front, and then when you open it, you've got all the bright colour. But the next one that I do today, I'm going to do a little bit more bright and happy and cheery kind of thing. I have got double-sided tape. I have got liquid glue over here in my little pen holder. I've got them in there so that they're tipped down so that the glue is ready to go when I want to use it. I have had a little bit of fun and games with a glue stick this morning, so we'll see how it goes. I've got a ruler, a pencil. I've also got a craft knife. I've got some scissors and my bone folder. I am going to use my Couture Creations paper trimmer, not only to cut but also to score today. So if you've not got that all together, you know, you can use a scoreboard. And I've got a craft mat just so that I can do some cutting with that craft knife and not cut through my work surface. So let's get on to cutting the panels that we're going to need from our 12 by 12 inch cardstock. So this is the Kaisercraft Weave cardstock that we sell on papercraftingaustralia.com. It's nice and thick. It's got a plainer side. It does have a little bit of a texture to it, but it is quite smooth. And then the weave textured, almost looks like a little, you know, wicker basket. Very fine detail on the other side. So this one is the colour Time. It is a colour that we've used twice, I think, this year in the Crafternoon boxes. I really love it quite a bit. So I use it a while. All right, so to make the parts of the card. So the front in a theatre, you know, the big kind of theatre window that you look through is actually called a proscenium arch. So when I refer to the front panel today, I'm going to refer to it as a proscenium arch, just because it makes me feel like I'm back at home in the theatre industry, which is kind of fun. Hopefully we're back in theatres very soon. And I'm going to cut, the first section I'm going to cut a whole strip down here, which is 14.8 centimetres there. Tony's going to be loving that we're doing centimetres today. So we're going to make that 14.8 by 10.5 centimetres for the front panel, the proscenium arch of the theatre card. Now we're actually going to cut two of those, so one for the back panel. So again, that's 14.8 by 10.5. Now this little piece that is left over does become a little bit of a scrap, so we can pop that piece aside. Take the page that we had before, the leftovers there. Now we're going to cut some panels for. Now in a theatre, these would normally be some kind of curtains along here that would be in what is called the wings. So if you're waiting in the wings, you technically shouldn't be able to be seen by the audience, but there's a lot of fun and games that goes on in the backstage area in the wings. So these little folded panels here, we're going to call the wings. And those we are going to cut. So we're going to cut another strip at 14.8 centimetres. Pretty close. Cut that whole panel. That's a little scrap that can disappear. And the wings we're going to cut down to 10.2. And we're going to cut two of those. There's one wing. And there's our second wing. Okay, with this panel now, we are going to cut this down. Now we're only going to shave a couple of mil off the end, so we're going to cut it down to 14.5. Where have I gone? 14.5. It's going to take sort of 3 mil off the end. I just find this easier to keep everything kind of just cutting it along. It makes it a little bit easier for me. But if you wanted to cut each piece separately, that's totally up to you. So we're now going to cut two. Now this isn't a theatre term, but these are called suspenders. So on the back of your front panel, you've got this little, hopefully you can see that, that little pocket here, which is what holds the front of your card, or the house curtain. Hold that in place. So that is, we're going to call these suspenders. So we're going to cut those. So we're just going to cut two of them, and they're going to be 2 centimetres wide. Oops, I nearly took my finger off. Oh, I made a mistake. 2.3 they are, guys, sorry. Hopefully I've got enough now to, if not, I'll have one that's 2 centimetres wide and one that's 2.3. Alrighty. I did make a bit of a change to that while I was doing things today. Right. 2.3. So there's a suspender. Cutting 2 of them. And the other one I'm cutting is 3. So have I got, yeah, I've got just enough. So that piece can disappear. So I'm going to cut this one. So the second suspender at 2.3 centimetres. And then we should have this piece here, we're actually going to cut down to 11 and a half. Tiny little scrap there. And we're just going to make sure this one measures 3, oh, it's pretty darn close. We're going to do 3 centimetres wide. I think I've got 1 mil to shave off here, which means it's not going to cut nicely, but I will tidy that up on my cutting mat. Now, while I've got these pieces out, this one I'm not going to need to score, but these two, our suspenders, we're going to need to score these. Now they're going to be, we're going to make a little score line 2 centimetres from each end, and just get those scored. So I'm just going to pop those in. I'm just going to use my bone folder just to run in that little cutting track. So I'm not using the cutting blade, just using, getting it out of the way, just using a bone folder in there. If you've got a scoreboard, that's great as well. You can just score away at 2 centimetres. Mine is in inches, so I prefer to do any of my scoring that I need to do in millimetres and centimetres. this way, and then anything that is measured in inches I do on my big scoreboard. Just in case you were wondering. Alright, 1 and 2. Flip that around. There we go. Alright, so our 2 suspenders, we've now got score lines on either end. I'm then going to take our 2 wings panels and I'm going to score them in 2 places along the long edge. And I am going to score those at 2.5 centimetres. There. And then 7.4 centimetres. There we go. And the second one. Now I've popped all these dimensions for you in the descriptions today, so if you're not catching them and writing them down as we're going along and you're just watching, by all means you can pop back and watch the replay in YouTube or Facebook, and they're all written there for you to make things a bit easier. Alrighty, so we've got our 2.5 and 7.4 centimetres scores, and we've got our main front and back cards. Okay, it's time to pop this away just for the moment. Now we're going to do a little bit of trimming. First I'm going to just neaten up this edge on this horrible thing that I created before. I'm just going to take my steel ruler, grab my craft knife and just neaten up that nasty edge. That was a bit rough. There we go. Now we're nice and straight. Right, while we've got that little piece, so this is the little pop-up panel that goes in the middle of the card. So just this little guy in here. So we can pop little creatures or characters on there, and away we go. So I'm just going to flip that over to the back so that I can draw it with a pencil, and I'm not going to really worry about where I've marked it and things like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a notch out of each side. So we're going to make almost a letter H shape out of this. So I'm going to measure in just 1 centimetre from each end. Now I could use the marks that are on this this craft mat because they are 1 centimetre squares, which is really handy. I'm just going to measure it just like you guys would at home, only because you're not going to be necessarily working on a mat that's got centimetre squares on it. I should have done this in like a black pen or something so that you could see a little bit better. So we've got 1 centimetre in from either end. Now I'm just going to measure 0.5 centimetre in from either side on these short sides. And 0.5 centimetre. Just going to rule that out. There's a fair bit of prep for this card, but once it's all prepped and ready, it's relatively quick and easy to put together. And I do think that the end result and the effect that you get at the end is something very unique, and people would be, it's well worth the effort. So I'm just going to take my craft knife and my steel ruler, and I'm going to cut those notches that I've just created. Always put your ruler over the bit of the cardstock that you want to keep, because chances are if you're going to run off at an angle and not follow the ruler line, you're going to run off and take off. You're going to mark into this bit of cardstock here, which you're going to be getting rid of anyway. I'm not going to rule these, I'm just going to freehand these little bits. They're only 0.5 centimetre. I think I can cut a fairly straight line in there. Take that little scrap and pop it away. Trim off my little rough edge there. Alrighty, so we've just cut the one out. So it's going to become a letter H if you've got it that way, or a letter I if you've got it this way. That's the effect that we're looking for. that twice just to make sure it's gone all the way through. And just take that little notch out of there. So now that we have this little piece as it is, this is definitely a rewatch, says Tony. I've got faith in you, Tony. So with this piece, we can now fold these little tabs over on themselves. You don't want to crease it and bone fold it and really burnish it, because they are going to be tabs that need to pop back open once we've pushed them through a little notch in the side of the card. You're going to want them to pop back open so that they stop that panel from falling out. Okay, so just give them a gentle, fold over. Doesn't need to be anything super firm or burnished at all. Alrighty, so that piece we have ready. These little suspenders, we can absolutely fold these panels over, and we are going to want to burnish these because you're going to want them to become as flat as possible. Just fold that one. Get this little guy here. All right, suspenders are ready. Okay, the first of our trickier pieces to cut. So these are our wing pieces. It's quiet in the craft room, everyone is watching, that's right. Okay, so I'm going to flip these over so that I can measure these and do them. I'm going to flip one back this way. So I'm going to pop them opposites because they are going to end up kind of mirroring each other. So this is the panel, the wing panel here. So it comes from this corner to that point to the front of the card and then across. So you can see how one is going to end up being a C this way and one's going to end up being a backward C that way. Okay, so this is why we're going to lay it out this way so that we can see how things are going. So from this first score line that we've made, so the shortest score line, we're going to go along and measure 1.5 centimetres past that little point. I'm just going to put a couple of marks just here, and I'm then going to measure along here. So from the bottom, I'm going to measure up 1 centimetre and just pop a little mark there, and then I'm going to go 2 more centimetres, so it's 3 in total. I'm just going to draw a line between those two, and this is where we're going to cut a little notch out of here. It's only going to be 1 millimetre or so wide, nothing too crazy. So I'm just going to get my steel ruler, and I know I said, we always cut the edge that we're cutting away, but this time we're not cutting anything away in a large section, but I am just going to cut just from the line, just from that top line to the bottom line that I've made. I'm then just going to slide my steel ruler over just 1 millimetre or so, and I'm going to cut a second one in line with that. And then I'm just going to, where those lines, the pencil lines are, I'm just going to take out that little notch that I've made there. So it only needs to be little, and what that's going to have is we're going to have these little, the little panel that we made for the pop-up panel, and that is going to need to feed through there, just like that. So if you want to check before you go ahead and start assembling everything that that panel will pop through, go for it, just to make sure. Doesn't need to be much. That's probably a little bit, well, you probably don't want to go too much further wide than that, and that's about 1.5 millimetres that I've cut there. So about 1 millimetre. Play pause on the rewatch, absolutely. Alrighty, so we're going to do the same on the other one, but just make sure that you haven't got them mirrored. If you mirror them this way and you cut here, when you then put your card together, you're actually going to need the notch down here on this one. So that's why we'll put them back to front. But it is the same measurements. So you can go back from this first score line, measure 1.5 centimetres here, just top and bottom. Get that panel out of the way for a moment. I'm just going to turn this on its side so I can show you where the measurements are. So once we've got that straight line, we're just going to measure 1 centimetre and 3 centimetres, and then pop a straight line between those 2 points. And that's the line that we're going to cut on. Good control with the cutting knife. Yeah, Tony, I've had a little bit of practice. So I'm going to cut this way because I can't see my little horizontal lines if I cut the other way. Let's take my craft knife again, just straight line between those 2 points. Move my ruler back about 1 millimetre or so and cut a second one between those points. These knives are incredible. I've been wielding an X-Acto knife for, I don't know, I was probably 10, I reckon, Mum. What do you reckon by the time I first picked up an X-Acto knife to make anything? I reckon about 30 odd years now. Had a bit of practice. Alrighty, just going to pop the lid back on because, you know, I'm the one that's going to kind of jab myself on something if I don't. So with this one, I'm going to make this the panel for the left-hand side. I am going to rub out, where's my eraser? Just these extra little lines that I have popped on here. So don't go too heavy with them. And it's up to you whether you want your your weave pattern side to be facing out or facing the inside wall. I'm going to leave mine facing out. So to that effect, I'm just going to score these up and burnish them, fold them over. So we're going to make a channel like that. So we've got that little guy there. And then the other one we're going to fold in the opposite directions. And that one's going to sit like that. Got it? Yeah, I was about 10. Yep, there we go. See, I've got that memory of, actually they're going to go that way. I was like, they're going to go that way. But that's how they will sit, and you can see when you kind of fold them over like this, that little panel is going to sit between the two and they're in the right spots. Who's telling stories out of school? It's probably about 10. Oh, I'm quiet today, am I, Mary? Sorry. It's about 10 when I got hold of a craft knife, yeah. What would we have been making back then? It would have been probably little plastic airplane models or something like that we were cutting off sprues and all kinds of things. Anyway. All right, the last lot of cutting as far as cardstock goes before we move on to paper. One of these panels is going to stay whole, so you don't have to worry about that. That will be the back panel. But we need to cut a window for the front. So again, I'm going to mark up my pencils on the back because no one's probably ever going to see that side. Alrighty, so we're going to cut a window here. So to do that, making it really easy, I'm just going to measure 2.5 centimetres in from both of these short sides. Make a little mark at the top and towards the bottom that I can then draw a, God, I can't see with this light at the moment. This overhead light makes grey lead pencil very hard to see, from my angle at least. So I'm just going to draw a line on there so that I can see where I'm going to cut, and then do the same 2.5 centimetres on the other side. Oh gosh. There we go. And it's about time I sharpened my pencil. I had to sharpen it with a, actually I've got, my pencil sharpener got lost in the move. So I was sharpening it with all kinds of Stanley knives and sharp objects, and it became really, that's better. It became really hard to figure out where the lead pencil actually was when you're ruling against a ruler. So then I'm going to take the long sides and I'm going to measure 1.5 centimetres in on those, and do the same. Oh, that's a bit more accurate with these. Probably should have done it before I started today. Things might have been a little bit more square, a bit straighter. Otherwise, you've kind of got to guess. Okay. And as I said, it doesn't matter about all these pencil lines everywhere. No one's ever going to see the back of this with any luck, unless they pull the card apart. So we've got the square there, and I'm just going to cut that inside part out, just using my steel ruler again, cutting against the or holding my ruler over the part that I am going to be keeping, and cutting away towards the part that is going to get cut off, just in case I have a little slip. You never know. Just a practice that I reckon, Sharon, I reckon you taught me this, Mum. There we go. Mum taught me lots of things in life. I taught myself how to steal her good gold and silver metallic pens out of the top drawer. For years we thought, Mum doesn't know that we're doing this, we're stealing. There was a white Tupperware container in the top drawer that had all the good pens in the house. So it was all the nice pens for if we had to write in birthday cards. Mum, like back then, I mean, pens like that would have been expensive. Like, it's not like today where you can just order something, you know, online from Amazon, and it might cost you, you know, $10 for a pack of 10 fancy glitter pens or gel pens or who knows what. It would have been one of those things where you had to pay, you know, $6 from the news agency or something like that. Lucky we always looked after them. I don't know. We were naughty, but it was for the best intentions. All right, so I've cut that window out, and so now we've got all of the components that we are going to want to put together. And I'm just going to step aside from cutting those bits for the moment. We're going to bring back the paper trimmer, and we're going to cut up the paper panels that we're going to decorate this with, so that can be put together. It is really hard to put things into place once this is in shape, so we really do need to put as much of it together as we can before we start tinkering. I learnt my lesson with that one, that is for sure. Alrighty, flip my piece of paper. Don't tell your dad. No, we couldn't tell Dad anything like that if we bought something expensive. How about ballroom dancing? How much did Merbau feathers cost for my ballroom dancing outfits? Don't tell Dad. Oh gosh. We were always going to Spotlight and getting into an adventure and having to not tell Dad. Oh dear. All right, paper trimmer back out. So the little panel that we're putting, let's bring that back into shot. So the panel on the back, so whatever your background that you want, we are going to cut down to 9.8 centimetres. I just want to make sure I've got these written the right way. Yep. 9.8. And I was almost cutting it at 8.8, so luckily I did kind of have a look at that then. 9.8 by 10.5 high. I'm going to pop that one over there. And we go 10.5. Ooh, now this is going to hurt because I kind of want a little bit more yellow at the top. But maybe not. But also, I want some of this, but I want some of this as well. All right, maybe I'm just going to trim off a little bit down the bottom here. Seems like a bit of a waste, but I'll live. And then cut my 10.5 here, and then I should get a fairly good amount of yellow as well as the green glue down the bottom. That's not too bad. Happy with that. So that, I'm just going to pop that over here with my my backing panel. I'm not going to do anything about sticking that down just yet. Now we're going to cut the wings, so the panel for these two. They're my wings. But they're kind of not the wings. I mean, this is the wings. This is the house curtain. So, I mean, you know, wings, curtain, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to cut this as one piece, and then I'm going to cut it in half, just so that's just a quicker and easier thing for me to figure out. So we're going to cut that 14.8 centimetres wide. So you're really out of a 6 by 6 inch paper. I'm only going to cut off a couple of millimetres. Pop that on my scraps. And then we're going to cut that down to 10.3 millimetres. 10.3 centimetres. Gosh, Dandy. Ugh. I'm doing well today. So they will then go onto my little, that's a little bit taller. So I'm just going to cut another millimetre off there. I don't know what's happened with that, but you might have a little bit of tinkering to do with this just to get it all to work and play nicely. I'm lucky I had a good mum, Marie. She always helped with craft endeavours. We never had a problem. If we wanted to do a crafty project, Mum was always in on it. She might have been a bit crazy, but, you know, she was very encouraging with that. So I've just cut that in half. So half of 14.8 is 7.4. I've done my maths today. And so they will then go on those front panels. The reason I've cut it as one and then just cut it in half is that the pattern on my paper will then match properly in the centre, and it will actually make a nicer reveal on that card. So I've got those two. Now for the front of our panel, now you can decorate the front panel, the Proscenium Arch, any way you like. I just popped 2 little strips across. My card today, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of this, but then I'm going to overlay some of the rickrack ribbon. Maybe some yellow over the top of that. So we're really not going to see much of that ribbon, the paper behind, but it's just another element to add there. So for that, pardon me, I'm going to cut, I'm going to make sure this is 14.8 centimetres. I nearly said millimetres again. I've got millimetres on the brain. 14.8. Oops. Go over there. Here a little scrap that I won't use. And then we're just going to cut some 1 centimetre strips. And actually I'm going to cut those just on my craft mat. Bit of a dry throat. Because I've got 1 centimetre squares on here, I can just line those up. Because also we're not doing something here that needs to be 100% exact. Just cut that one off and then line it all up again. Make sure it's all straight. Oh, Ben's cooking beef Wellington for our family dinner tonight, and I can smell the start of it coming through the house. Oh gosh, that smells really yum. It's, to be honest, it's probably just onion or something at the moment that smells amazing, but the house smells good. Now, that's those 2 strips for the front, and then we have one last thing to cut out before we can start assembling, and that is just the little pop-up panel cover. Now you don't have to cut something on that. You could leave it the plain colour of whatever colour cardstock you've made your little pop-up panel piece. So it's up to you. If you would, oops, getting things stuck. If you want to cover that just with some pattern paper, then just cut it down to a 14 by 2 centimetre piece. Pop my little extension arm out there. I may or may not use this piece today. I'm going to cut it down just in case. 2 centimetres. It's hard to cut on this trimmer, I've decided. all of my pieces cut, prepared, ready to go. Put that over there. I'm going to pop these pieces out of arm's reach so I don't get them confused with other pieces. I'm going to put the lid back on here. And I am just going to cut and measure, or I'm going to measure and cut one more thing on this front panel, and that is just the little tab holders to be able to grab your house curtain or your wings to be able to open the card. Now you might have a a 1 inch or a 1.5 inch circular punch that you want to use. If you don't, this is my little hack, which is to measure along the sides at 4 and 6.5 centimetres, just 2 little spots there. Works both ways. It is centered along that side, and I've just gotten, this is just a just a little bottle, just because I wanted a little diameter circle, and I'm just going to take that and line it up. I don't know if you can, it's not that way, it's going to be easier to see this way. I'm just going to line it up so that once it gets to the point where those edges kind of touch those little marks that I've made, hold that down, not like that. Let's do it this way because I can actually then see what I'm doing. But I'm just going to measure around that bottle and just draw that little arc, and I'll do the same this way. It should end up about the same, about right. It'll be really close anyway. And then I'm just going to take my little craft scissors and I'm just going to cut those shapes out to make those finger holes. You can see how hard this is going to be if you had tried to cut this out later on, once things are half assembled. Obviously a punch will give you probably a much smoother cut, depending on how your scissor skills are. But just cut that out. I mean, you don't have to have it be a semicircle or a circular shape. You could also cut, a square or a rectangle. You could try your hand at a triangle in there, whatever's going to work. A little half hexagon wouldn't have been a stupid idea on a card like this. Pardon me. Of course, I think about that after I've cut things. What's on the live, Mum? Forgot to mention they're on this live too. Oh, the dimensions are in that. Yep, cool, thanks. I was like, what's on the live? All right, let's start assembling our bits and pieces. So first of all, I'm going to take our little pop-up panel. Something has not gone right here. I think I've given you the wrong dimension for that panel, guys. Doesn't need to be that long. It's the right size for the panel. I've cut this too long. Probably only needs to be 11, not 14. Yep. That's what I've done. What a silly sausage. I mean, you very quickly figure out when you've done your measurements wrong. That'll be 11. Chop. There we go. That should work a bit. I've done a few mistakes today, but hey, look, this is what happens when we craft. Alrighty. So I can glue or tape that on here. I'm just going to run a piece of double-sided tape down the middle. You want to take that fairly central, just so that the whole piece is covered. As I said before, you can leave that as a plain cardstock piece if you want. That's that piece ready to go. We get our 2 wing pieces. I'm going to make sure that I keep them the right ways, so that, and that's not the right way, so that my pattern matches up. And I'll tape these pieces together. Tape on the long sides. I think this roll of tape is about to run out. All right, I've got some smaller, got the thinner pieces. Just want to see how far we can make this one go. right to the end of the roll. Oh, come on, fingernails that are non-existent. Do your thing. All right, so I'm going to fold this back on itself so that I can really line this up on that edge that it's going to be the join with the other panel. Okay. The same with this one, fold all of that under. Get some tape on the back. Did everybody join in for the Christmas launch the other day? I know a few of you were there. People have been going crazy for the patterned paper. You can buy it on its own in the online store. So you can buy a pack of 12 pages. Double-sided, of course. They are beautiful. I'll show you the real deal. The other night I only had one of the designs in person. But the others arrived this morning, which is why I was in a bit of a fluster and hadn't set things up properly on my phone before. Sorry about that. So that's those panels good. Alrighty, so let's I'm going to take our front border panel. We'll pop these little pieces on. So I'm going to just run some thin tape, double-sided tape, a bit off screen, am I? Just a little bit. A little bit of thin tape on these. Just for our little border strip. And try and mount it evenly. Like that. And then pop this one on. I'm just doing some of the decorating for the front of this just before we attach things to the back, because then it starts to get, with the suspenders hung on the back, it starts to get a bit lumpy and you can't put things down as clean and flat. Tony's admitting that she did buy some extra papers. Yes, Tony has put in an extra order. Thank you, Tony. I'm super excited about the papers. All right, I'm going to run this pattern in the opposite direction just so that it's not too symmetrical. Me not doing something symmetrical, what on earth? All right, and I did say I was going to think about putting some ribbon on. What do we think? Bit of ribbon, yay or nay? Or should I put, actually I could put some kind of this way. I might do something like that when we get to the end. We'll have a look. All right, so on the back of our Proscenium Arch, or the front, we are going to take our two little suspenders that have had their little tabs pulled over. I don't know about this glue pen. Let's see. I think it's a dead one. There we go. I'm going to pop a good amount of glue on that. And then we're just going to pop it tab side down onto the back. And you're going to try and line it up with the side edge and the top and bottom. So it should sit just inside the short edge, and also just inside the long edges, and just inside that little window front that we've got there. So they are cut pretty much perfectly to fit that spot. But you do have a little millimetre or so of wiggle room, which is why we're using liquid glue as well, because we've got that little bit of time while the liquid glue is wet to get it to set and wiggle it into the right spot. All right, so just put one on the other end of that card. I think that dinner cooking smell is making me even hungrier, because I've literally only had a couple of pumpkin scones for brunch this morning. Alrighty, so I'm just going to set that piece aside while we get some other pieces ready. I'm going to take my back panel and just pop it up there. And I'm just going to take these two of our wings, flip this one over. Now I'm just going to fold this the short tab, the little 2.5 centimetre tab back on itself. Now for this part you can use liquid glue or you can use tape, double-sided tape, doesn't really matter. I just like this because I do get a little bit of wiggle in it. And we're just going to pop that over. You just want to line that one panel up with the end, and then you want to centre it. There is a 2 millimetre difference in the heights on the wings versus excuse me, the card back. And you just want to kind of split the difference and have about 1 millimetre on the top and 1 millimetre on the bottom. But then the edge should line up there. So if I fold that back, got that one there. Do the same with the other side. Good amount of glue on there. These are quite mobile pieces of your card, so if you do want your card to last, give it a good hit of glue, don't be shy. And then just pop that one onto the other side. I like to fold these back just to make sure that everything is kind of starting to line up. You want to try and make sure that your middle, while the glue is wet underneath these, you can kind of give these a little bit of a, manipulate them just to get those center lines to line up so that the pattern's perfectly aligned. I do love the pattern paper that I've chosen for this one too, Tony. I think it's great. All right, so once we've got that front panel aligned, open up, and then we can pop in here. Now this is where you might need to do a little bit of shaving off your patterned paper just to get it to fit perfectly. I reckon I've got a little millimetre on this side to chop off. But just cut small pieces at a time. If you are one of those people who would prefer to see a bit of a cardstock border, there we go. That's kind of all it needed. Then you can cut this down accordingly. I feel like I've got something a little bit. That's about right. It's about right. All right, pop the lid on that one guy. Come out the way. I'll double-sided tape this one because it's not. There we go. It's gonna happen at some point. Cheeky tape. Right, so I'll just need to put a little bit more tape on. That's no big deal. Something like that. Take the back sides off. So people talking about the Christmas patterned paper. Oh, it's going to be more than just Christmas cards that you're going to want to make with this paper. I can't wait to make Christmas crackers, which we're going to be doing in the December kit. So we're going to make 4 in the kit, but if you want more, if you want to make more, I'm sure you're going to want to, and I'm sure you're going to match them with all of the coordinating papers. So yeah, you might need some more papers for that. I've got a few other Christmas decorations that I might think about throwing in a couple of extra tutorials along the way. We'll see how we go. All right, there's my little back piece in play. Now let's have a look. This little guy is going to sit in here. What do I want to put on here? I might put that one in the back there. I'll pop Pop a little gnome on the front here. A little gnome or a big one. Might do a big one. And then I'll pop a little bee. No, I'll just do one. It doesn't have to be overly busy. Busy bee. So you're going to want to stick these pieces into place before you start to assemble your card, or you're going to have a lot of fun and games getting your finger in to the inside the card without bending or creasing any of your other pieces. So that's my tip. Get it in now. Something weird going on with that double-sided tape was not wanting to come off. Now you know that I would normally love to pop this up onto foam tape, but I'm not going to today because I don't want there to be too much thickness in under this card, under that panel. Just going to put 2 pieces of double-sided tape side by side with this one, just because I really want to make sure this gnome's not going to fall off and twist off the little pop-up panel. And I'm going to flip it over so that I know that I'm getting the gnome fully on the panel, and also that I'm not getting tape so that when I stick this over it's going to get stuck accidentally to my, my piece. Might pop a couple of little sequins in here. I'm just going to pop them on some double-sided tape just for the moment, just because I don't want to muck around with having wet glue in here while I'm making other things happen. Nothing wrong with using double-sided tape for sequins. It won't last as long, but it's definitely doable. You just want to cut them down to quite small pieces or tear them down to small pieces. And then if you've got any bits that are overhanging, just turn them back over on themselves. Okay. And you guys can go over there. I'm going to pop a little one of these along this little part of the banner. I was going to do a blue one, but now I feel like I've got a lot of blue going on. Maybe blue on the front. What can we pop on the inside? I might do a yellow one. I might do Hello Friend. Just use my craft knife and my ruler just to snip this one off. Make it nice and even all the way around. A little bit of double-sided tape on the back. Nearly there. So you can imagine just with these little fiddly bits, how fiddly it would be if you were trying to do this while it was stuck inside this panel. It would be very, very tricky. I'm also going to pop just a little sequin in here. I think Paper Rose did a really great job of designing these papers. They do make you feel really happy, and they fit a whole bunch of different categories, like why occasions, why you would be sending a card to somebody. There we go. Awesome. So now that I've got these panels ready to go, I can fold down these little tabs and we can feed them through. Just get them to slot through. If you find you're having trouble getting them through, you might just need to cut down that little panel. So it is good to test it beforehand. Once you've got it through your panel, just unfold those little tabs. Like I said before, you don't want to burnish them down too hard because they are the bits that are going to stop that little piece from pulling back through the card. So once you've got one side done, just hold those tabs underneath and feed them through on the other side. Over there, pop out those little tabs. There we go. And so now we've got the inside component of our little card. There's nothing to stop you from decorating these panels as well if you wanted to before you kind of put everything together. Again, you'd want to do it probably before you put this panel in because then you've got flat access, but you can flatten that all out and do that if you wanted to. So you can go both sides with that. So that's that little panel there. And then you're probably going to be saying, well, how do we put the rest of it together? All right, let's do it. So take your front panel, and what you're going to do is hold this up and you're going to slip this panel in through one of these suspenders. It is going to need to bend a little bit in the middle. Just be very gentle so you don't crease that panel there. So you'll be able to slip these. Oops, Daisy. If I hold it up, I'm just not holding it the right way. They are a little bit tricky because they are tight. They're fairly tight fitting. You don't want things to be falling out. Alrighty. Then you'll lift up the other one. That'll bend in the middle to get it where it needs to go. And then on the back, just get it to slot in, into the suspenders. You don't have to push it all the way through. It only has to go for the moment just to the edge, and then you should be able to flatten out your card. So this is what we're looking at. What we're looking at so far. So it looks really, really cute. I am going to pop just a little bit of rickrack down the sides there, just for a little bit of extra interest. I haven't really used the rickrack much for this month's kit, but it's there for you. You might as well. One piece on one side, one piece on the other. Now you can either measure this or you can glue it on and then cut the edges, whatever works for you. This one, a little bit of liquid glue on the back. Should have my tweezers for this. I'm going to end up with glue all over myself. Alrighty. And I've got glue all over the front of my card. Never mind. It will come good. You could also pop some sequins on here if you want to bling it out a little bit. Get my other bit of rickrack. Get there. If I've got any over the edge, then I know I can just trim it off with my scissors. Right, there we go. Now it's up to you if you want to put something on the front. It could just be something quite plain, but you can grab your little tabs and pull your card open. It will take a little bit the first couple of times that you do it just to get it where it needs to go. This one here, oh no, I have to take this sequin off. I put it too close and it's stopping that little tab from opening all the way. So my little walls, my wings weren't going all the way, and now my rickrack's decided it doesn't want to stick. Might have to play with that. But that's ultimately your little card. Little theatre card. You can just fold those little panels back in, squash it back down. Happy days. If you wanted to put something on here that actually said something, you could by all means print something off on the computer as long as it measures, large enough for that front panel. You don't really want things that are going to get stuck and catch on these little windows when they go in and out, like my sequin did down below. That's him done. So I'll wrap up the tutorial there, but what I will do is I will just bring over the Christmas papers so that for anyone who missed the launch the other day, let me just tidy up my workspace a little bit. This will be the first time everyone's seen them all in person and not just little electronic digital ones. I'm super stoked. Alrighty, here they are. Here's the patterns. Here's the page. Move you guys out the way. So this is the little front cover. So Christmas Gala is the name of the pattern collection, paper collection. Now on the back of this sheet, now this sheet always bothers me in papers because it's always just a waste. It's just a piece of paper that's in there for no good reason. So I put some things on the back of it for people to cut apart or use. I really love these little vintage tags that have got little dictionary type definitions of all of the little Christmas elements. So, you know, you've got nutcracker and Christmas stocking and hot chocolate, Santa Claus. So there's a few things, and I could see people, cutting those out and just using them as little embellishments. These are great as well. I thought great things for people to either cut out and use as backing for greetings or sentiments, or you could take a punch to them and just punch out some of that texture. Totally up to you. They're there. If you use it, you use it. If you don't, you don't. I just like it not to be just a blank piece of paper. So then we've got this gorgeous one. So this is a champagne gold look. You like the digital ones as well, Tony? Yeah. Look, they looked great digitally. Now that I've got the real deal, I can really see what they look like. So they are not metallic. They are just digital prints that look metallic. And I really do like the way they've come up. So we've got this champagne glitter sequiny type look. And on the back we have my Christmas golf. They are a little bit shiny, so that does help with the metallic effect. So we've got the green metallic with the little champagne dots a la Christmas in there. We have got, this was one of the favourites from the other night. People were really excited about this one. When I first saw this pattern, I was kind of like, it's like arrows or feathers, but I can kind of see the Christmas tree in it now. So it's got a beautiful, watercolour type background with some metallic look, feathers, trees over the top. I like that it's a tree pattern, but it's not a traditional green. Like you would always see a tree pattern that's green. So it's nice to see something in red. On the back, there's this beautiful holly pattern. So it's a white background. It's a bit off-white actually because of the recycled paper that it's printed on. But you've got your gold outlines. So again, great. You could take an alcohol ink marker to it and colour some of those in if you wanted to, if you're great at colouring. But just a nice, white, gold and red type of paper. We have got the green, dusty green, olive green background with almost like a heat embossed look to these little holly leaves and berries. And they're very simplified holly leaves. So I love those as well because it's not too, jagged leaf kind of look on the back of that and upside down. I don't know how that happened. Or maybe I was just holding it upside down because this one really doesn't have a right way up. So we've got golden green Christmas trees on a white background. So these are really, really cute. I can't wait to start doing things with them. We've got these gold stripes, and so they do have a bit of this kind of blurred effect on it because, normally when you are looking at a metallic paper, you will have light coming in from different angles. So that is kind of imitating that light reflection. But when you've then got the sort of semi-gloss paper as well, you are seeing a bit more of an extra light reflection. But again, that'll be great for, some borders and things like that that people are doing. Another one of the favourites, the reds were the favourites the other night, I tell you. We've got, again, a bit of an inky, murky background in the deep red with the gold snowflakes printed over the top. So that's a nice one. And I can see people using punches just to cut out one, or use a template and trace and cut that to make little baubles with those little designs on them. So I can see that happening already. And this is one of the ones that we did have available the other night to show. So this is like our mismatch, what do you call it? Mix and match or mismatch. I don't know what the word is that I'm trying to say now. A mashup. That's the word I'm thinking of elements. So Christmas type elements. So again, I can see this, just being not having to do much to make a background. That is pretty much a self-made background as it is. And then just matching things in with some little embellishments would be amazing. And on the back, we have the black and white snowflake type pattern with the little sort of grey and black zigzag going through the background. I did mention to everybody the other night that with these you can actually ink blend onto it. So where the white is, it won't take 100% the exact same colour on because it does have that printing to it. But you can mess around and play with those, and you'll definitely get some nice effects if you are not a black and white, single tone person. Marie loves the black. Yeah, she does. We've also got in black and white this Merry Christmas. Again, another one of those things that I can see people cutting, cutting and using those as sentiments or greetings on their own, or just cutting a little block of it or a strip, kind of is a diagonal. So that could be an interesting pattern to put across a card and have a background coming out both sides of a diagonal greeting. And on the back of this is our metallic green stripes. So again, just a reminder that it's not actually metallic, but it is a metallic look, digitally printed onto those. So that is they're the 12 designs that come as part of the paper pack. You can buy the pack, so there's 2 copies of each that come in, so you'll have 12 patterns or 12 sheets of paper if you buy the full pack. You can also buy each sheet individually. Now, it is whichever pattern it comes with, front and back. It's not like you can choose this front with this back. It is how they are, but you can purchase those separately. They are all available on our website now for you. So please go ahead. You can, subscribers, you can use Next Box if you want to have these added to your November kits. October kits went out yesterday. Day before, yesterday. One of those days. So they have gone out, so we can't fit them into the October kits, but for the November ones, if you want some extra papers to play with, by all means, purchase them on the website and pop in the Next Box code at the checkout and you'll get them in that box with free shipping. So thank you for bearing with me for a little bit of a longer tutorial today to make the theatre card and then just to go through those Christmas papers. But share them with your crafty friends, let them know that the papers are here. I've had a great time working with you all today. I know it's been a little bit quieter in the chat, but I think that's because there's a lot to get through with that card. I'll be back again for the last of our September hangover tutorials tomorrow at 2 o'clock. That'll be Sunday the 3rd of October at 2 o'clock. And then we'll be jumping in next weekend back to 1 tutorial a week for the October kits. But don't forget, November kits, the Crafternoon boxes, sales end on the 6th of October. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know what day it is. Wednesday. So Wednesday this week. So if you are keen to get your hands on the November box, we're going to be making 12 Christmas cards in November. So it's the perfect time to start getting your kit together, getting your cards made. And then for the December kit, we're going to be making some Christmas crackers, some tags for your gifts, and a bunch of other things, more decor related things than cards, purely because, you kind of want to get your cards made in November, and with delivery times at the moment, you want to get them out in the post. So that is what will be coming. So if you didn't get to see the launch, pop back and watch the Facebook launch video from Thursday night. We've got all of the details in there. There's also a couple of pages doing the rounds or ads doing the rounds with those details in, so check back on Facebook for those posts. You'll be able to see the full contents of the kit from there, and I will be updating that on the website this afternoon, so you can also pop in there if you just give me a little while to get that updated. But thanks again for joining me. I do hope to see you again tomorrow or next week or sometime in the future. Have a great week between now and the next time we might see each other. Cheers, bye.